So welcome back to a new episode of my almost weekly update. I think it's the fourth this year, so I didn't really succeed in presenting every week one. Now, what has happened? A slap that was heard around the world. Everybody talked about it. Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, and people debating whether he was right to do it or whether he was not right to do it. I always feel a little bit alienated by the celebrity talk, but of course I'm also fascinated about it. It doesn't really tell a story, but it tells more a story about us. And you can dive deep into the dark Twitter net and the Twitter ghetto, where people now blame Will Smith, blame Chris Rock, and, well, who should be blamed? Maybe our society? I don't know. What I find interesting is that a person is basically an intersection of himself, of his idea of freedom, with the established narratives of a society. And these established narratives concern questions of honor, questions of how you should react, and questions of how you should honor or treat your relationships, whether you believe in unconditional love, and so on and so forth. So there is a larger plan working on us, and as it is said in Dune, there is a plan inside of plans, and that's just what I want to mention here. So me and Ben Weiss, we talked about Dune recently. Just have a little look on that here.
Spice Wars.
Yeah.
Now in your cinema. Watch the story of Paul, how he becomes the Messiah of the oppressed.
Is that?
Yeah, that's basically it. And why do I mention this here? It is because Dune does not take a single character just as an instance of himself, but of course it locates it in a larger story, in a larger line of political motives, of larger histories that work on that character, while at the same time the character produces these storylines. And I believe that that would help us a lot if we look at such instances and ask, well, is it Will Smith? Is it his responsibility? Sure. Is it like a toxic masculinity that is working on him? Sure. Is the toxic masculinity just flowing out of him and he just chose to adopt it? I don't think it's that easy. I think there's a lot of build-up before going on. And I think if I look at Will Smith, to give my 50 cents to a rather meaningless object that overshadows the conflict in Ukraine, for example, but I think it may be the result of a toxic relationship. So instead, I really recommend going to watch the video or go to my podcast, Escape to Dune, a review of the movies that has won, by the way, a lot of Oscars. We don't discuss that, but we will compare David Lynch's version of the movie a little bit with Denis Villeneuve's version. But for the most, we don't just make an introduction, like an encyclopedic introduction to all the characters in Dune, but we discuss some of the larger political motives and how Dune is a political critique, which many people don't grasp, especially a political critique of the possibility of revolutions, of Stalinisms that are also established in our time. Of course, that will not be just right-wing propaganda against left-wing politics. Of course not. It will also criticize the right-wing perspective that may see here a chance to establish its seemingly superior position. Okay, that said, definitely better than what we have else as an offer right now. I also started watching Star Trek Piccard, and the second season is running right now. I thought it was a really good first episode, but then it just became what Chris Evans calls. Is his name Chris Evans? It's like the famous actor. I think his name is Evans somehow, but he's from Half in a Bag, RedLetterMedia, which I really recommend. And he says about Star Trek the following.
Here we are. It's the biannual Star Trek funeral.
So it's the biannual Star Trek funeral, and I think that's fortunately also the case with the new show. I don't recommend that. Another season's finale that should actually already have happened, but that hasn't, is Attack on Titan, which come on Sunday. And I'm waiting for the finishing line of a great story. I'm a great fan of Japanese cinema, and I think that's definitely better writing than we have at Star Trek currently. Other than that, I have something interesting that I found in the Tim Ferriss podcast. They were talking about sleep disorders. I have forgotten with whom. I listen to it on my cell phone. And there was the suggestion that before you go to sleep, you should play Tetris. And I heard that before, and I really thought, well, why should I do that? But I tried it, and it seems to work on me. And the idea is that if you play kind of rather fast-paced game, then you have the chance to clear out negative thoughts because you engage your brain into other thoughts. And so far it has helped for me. I could sleep very well. And I have figured out this version of Tetris here. And let's play it very briefly. It's a very fast version of the game. And so here, I like actually the variations on a game that is quite old, where you have to try, and you already see that I do kind of a weird mechanism of putting these things together, because you will see what happens in a second. I get 4 lines, and now it just burns itself to the ground, and it explodes again, and it burns itself further. The good thing is, it will be just a minute. It will be just a minute, and well, I mean, you can earn some extra time, of course, but it won't be very long, and you have to be engaged in some thinking, like how do I build up so that I can get deeper and deeper? How can I get these extra timepieces that are hidden in the game? I don't know if you want to watch me playing this. Here I made a mistake, so I give it up on that. But yeah, I try to beat my own record, and this is a recommendation. Maybe if you cannot sleep, you can try it here. That would be definitely an option. Yeah, what else is there left to say? This was a surprising event. First time I got fries in a restaurant where the ketchup was enough. I think this is quite a historical event. They delivered so much ketchup and it was enough for all the fries, and you didn't have to ask a waiter to bring you more. Big plus for the waitress here. I got a cat for a friend.
Yeah, let him up.
And I'm really not engaged in cats, so this is really kind of a personal topic here. This was the cat, and it was really hard to get it in the box, where I got a wound.
Need to show.
And the interesting
this.
part about this is maybe that I had to get a rabies vaccine, because obviously here you're not immune against rabies yet, and that's a lot of stuff I have to do in my life right now, organizing rabies vaccines. Yeah, that was what I had to say today. A rather short episode. I really recommend you, again, the podcast. You also find, for example, a review on Stanisław Lem's Solaris, a book that I've read, not wrote, together with Ben Weiss. I think we have some interesting observations that we could come up with here. So I would be happy if you watch them. Other than that, I hope you subscribe to my channel, that you give it a like or leave a comment. Live long and prosper.